So what's up, people, and welcome to another episode of Kaiju 8 or Monster Number 8. Now this week, Naoya Matsumoto or Matsumoto Sensei is taking a break, and so there is no new chapter from the comic. And so I thought I would take this time to make a video that I've always wanted to do, and this dwells upon a question that I've always had right from the beginning, which is, what exactly are these humanoid monsters? Now, of course, we know to some extent what Kafka is, or who Kafka is, but of course there is still that one question of how did he transform into monster number 8? I mean, what exactly was that small monster? And so I already made a video with regards to some of the questions that I've had in a previous video. But I started thinking about this a little bit more, and I realized that there were a few other questions that I wanted to talk about, so I thought that I would make this video. And this is with regards to, once again, the humanoid monsters. And when Kafka transformed, we realized that although he is a monster, he is different from those other kaiju type of monsters, those huge ones that you see in the comic. And originally we weren't sure if he was unique, if he was the only humanoid type monster, until of course monster number 9 came out, and we found out that there were other humanoid monsters like Kafka. And so there were these groups of monsters that seemed to be different from those kaijus, in that they seemed to be a lot more intelligent, and in some ways they were controlling the giant kaijus. And so I started wondering about exactly what these humanoid monsters are and why they are so different from the beast-like monsters that you have, and what makes them humanoid. But as I was looking into this a little bit more, I realized that there may be more than one type of humanoid monster. And you could see that when you look at monster number 8 or Kafka and compare him to monster number 9. And originally I didn't realize this. I thought that monster number 9 was basically an antagonistic or a evil version of Kafka, right? Basically similar to if you ever read the comic Inuyashiki. Two of those characters received superhuman powers. One was Inuyashiki and the other antagonist. And they were basically the light and dark side, both receiving those superpowers. And I thought maybe monster number 8 and 9 was that way, in that monster number 9 was an evil equivalent of monster number 8, another humanoid that can transform and was an evil entity. However, if you kept on reading the manga, especially the recent chapters, you realize that monster number 9 was a very different humanoid monster than monster number 8. If you recall, for monster number 8, Kafka basically became monster number 8 when that other smaller monster basically entered his body. And when he transformed, he basically was Kafka but was in a monster-like body. It was him, right? And so this seemed like, one, it's a symbiotic relationship between the smaller monster and Kafka, and two, Kafka gets to keep control of the body. But if you look at monster number 9, originally I thought that was the same way, because you saw, a human turn into a monster, and so you thought that it was similar. But what you find out later is that monster number 9 takes human form by killing and consuming other humans. In which case, this isn't a human that received a symbiotic relationship with another monster, and because of that can transform into a humanoid monster like monster number 8. This is basically a humanoid monster, and the only reason it consumes other humans is so that it could take its shape. And so monster number 8 is basically Kafka, a human that received a symbiotic relationship and has monster traits or characteristics, whereas monster number 9 is inherently a monster that when it transforms into a human, is actually taking on a human characteristic, but is remaining a monster. So this isn't an evil human that received a symbiotic relationship and became a monster. This is really a humanoid monster that consumes humans to take on its form. And so that's very different from Kafka. And from what we see, because what I call monster number 10, a new humanoid monster has come out, there are a group of humanoid monsters, not human monster symbiotes, that seem to be targeting the human civilization. And so then you start asking, why is Kafka so unique? What is this smaller monster, and how does it relate to these other humanoid monsters? Maybe there is no relation. And one possibility it could be is that these humanoid monsters, which are a higher intelligent version of the kaijus, similar to humans being a higher intelligent version of animals, maybe they are from the monster realm, but there is one other separate monster which by itself may be very, very intelligent and doesn't want to do the evil actions that these humanoid monsters want to do, but is too small in itself to be able to fight them. And so it searches for a host to be able to give the host the power to be able to fight these humanoid monsters. And so in some ways, the smaller monster is giving up the control of its body to be able to give the power to a human host that will then be able to fight the monster. And maybe when that smaller monster said, "I found you," it was because of the fact that it was looking for a human that was very interested in fighting the monster, but at the same time had enough compassion that it wouldn't go into just a mass destruction that it was afraid of if it went into any other human. Maybe there was a good balance between compassion and courage that this small monster decided to choose Kafka as its host. I don't know. But there is definitely a distinct difference between monster number 8 and monster number 9. They may be humanoid monsters, but they are very different. In fact, they are somewhat opposite. One is a human that takes monster form. The other is a monster that takes human form. This is similar to One Piece, where there are a lot of Zoan fruit users, which are human that take the Zoan monster form or the animal form. And then, of course, there's Chopper, who is an animal that ate a human Zoan fruit and takes the human form. And so it is interesting. But in this case, of course, there is these symbiotic small monsters. And there is this big question that comes up. Why is it wanting to find a host that will battle these other humanoid monsters? And so this, of course, is on top of all the other questions. The big question being, why are these monsters attacking the human civilization all of a sudden? But that is something that I think the author, Naoya Matsumoto, will go into later on in the chapters. So I am looking forward to seeing how this unveils. But I did find this kind of information about the two different types of humanoid monsters interesting. And so I just wanted to make this video to ask you how you felt about this. What do you think is the reason for that small monster to create a symbiotic relationship? Do you feel that Kafka and Monster 8 is a different type of humanoid monster than Monster 9, not just a good versus evil version of the same type of humanoid monster? And if that's the case, what is the relationship between the small monster that entered Kafka versus the humanoid monsters that seems to want to go against each other? And any information and speculation that you may have, if you can put it into the comments section below, I would really appreciate it. But anyway, that's all I wanted to make for this video. Thank you very much for listening, and I'm looking forward to the next chapter of Monster number 8, and when it comes up, I'll post another video. I hope you join me at that time. And until then, happy manga reading, and as always, Jaya, nice day, everyone.